Record to the cloud. All right, we started, and so you want. I think here's what I'll do for the intro. I'll start it off episode 43. Blah blah blah. Pat, how are you doing? Big week this week, World Series, and then I think what you do is say, or like something like Andrew. There's another reason this is a big week, and then say, and then I'll go, oh yeah, you're right, and then I'll say the announcement. Just
Yeah,
like
that sounds good.
Does that sound good?
Yeah, that makes sense.
Did you see the giant? Oh my! Or you're not watching the game, but
I
will
can't see
mention
the
that
game.
in a second. There's just a giant ad for TikTok on the batter's side. All right, we ready to roll? You ready?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
All righty. Let's get the. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome into episode number 43 of the Zoomer Sports Radio. And boy, do we have a jam-packed episode today. Pat, how are you doing today? Great to see you back. I've done a couple college football shows solo, but glad to see you back in the co-host chair.
It's great to be back. We got a huge week. We got World Series, obviously, NFL kicking in the full swing, NBA season starting up. But it's not just a big week for all sports. What else is it a big week?
Oh, thank you for mentioning, Pat. It's a big week for the Zoomer sport. It's a big week for the Zoomer sports world, as I am unbuttoning my Atlanta Braves jersey. I'm revealing to you possibly one of the greatest pieces of clothing you have ever seen. It is the one and only Zoomer Sports merch.
There you go,
Pat. So, Pat and I, way back when we were on, I think in mid-quarantine, printed out shirts for us, and Pat's wearing one of them right now.
Yep, I had to bring it on.
Yep. So we're rocking the Zoomer Sports merch. Pat, you want to tell the listeners and everyone out there what time it drops tomorrow?
Tomorrow at 9 a.m., the Zoomer Sports Radio official merch gets updated and gets dropped. So be there. You will want to buy our merch.
Yeah, link will be in our bio on Instagram, Twitter. You can find it there. And it will drop on Thursday, October 28th at 9 a.m. Central, 10 a.m. Eastern. Well, we're recording right now as we're watching Game 2 of the 2021 World Series between the Atlanta Braves, as I'm rocking here with this Ronald Acuna Jr. jersey, against the hated Houston Astros. And we're going to talk about Game 1 and the whole series. But right now, as we're recording, whether you're listening today or 2 years from now, it's 4-1 Astros, bottom of the second. Astros are having a huge inning. Got they scored a couple runs on a throwing error. Big single by Martin Maldonado, and they've kind of unraveled Max Fried here in the bottom of the second. But Pat, what have been your main takeaways here from the first two games, or the first game and a half of the World Series?
Well, we've seen an Atlanta Braves team that has just been hitting on stride at the right time. I mean, this was a team, they had not high hopes coming in the World Series, but, obviously with Acuna going down, in the first game, they came out and they just kept it going. Charlie Morton, who was a huge pickup from the Rays last year, pitched great. And then on the asterisks, Framber Valdez didn't have his best game, but we saw, I think, a preview of what's going to be a back and forth series, obviously with Game 2 going how it has tonight.
And the Astros are now up 5-1 as we speak, after a hit there by a single to right field by Michael Brantley. But overall, Pat, yes, I agree with you. It's going to be a back and forth series. My initial prediction is Astros in 6. And a little bit about this Atlanta Braves team is they're the underdogs. They are the 1980s U.S. men's Olympic team going against the Soviets. They are Rocky going against Apollo Creed. They are Seabiscuit. They're the Mighty Ducks. They're the ultimate underdog here.
Buster Douglas,
Pat,
Mike Tyson.
That's a great point. Buster Douglas, Mike Tyson. Pat, the Atlanta Braves at the trade deadline were below 500. Their best player on the entire team, the guy I'm wearing on the back of the jersey, arguably top 5 guy in the MLB, Ronald Acuna Jr., goes out with a torn ACL everyone was writing them off the books, writing them off. Oh, the Phillies got this division. Oh, the Mets got this division. Pat, who won the division?
The Braves.
Bingo. They didn't get above 500 until August. So as Jock Peterson said it yesterday, it's a team of a bunch of scrappy guys. They're no super team. Like you could argue this Astros team. They're a bunch of scrappy guys. They went and got a bunch of guys to replace Ronald Acuna Jr., Eddie Rosario, Jock Peterson, Jorge Soler, all near the deadline because Alex Anthopoulos, their GM, when he was with Toronto, made the mistake of not attacking at the trade deadline. And that's how you see the Blue Jays never made it past the ALCS. He has learned from his mistakes, and he is ready to win this 2021 World Series.
And they've also been able to have a very good pitching rotation and bullpen with obviously Max Fried, Ian Anderson, Drew Smiley, acquiring Charlie Morton. And then in the bullpen, you got Will Smith, Luke Jackson. They've been able to maintain the guys at the places they need it most. And like you said, they're not trying to build a super team. Dodgers, they beat them in the NLCS. This team, for a lot of years, they were on the doorstep of not being able to break through and get to the World Series. They finally got it done this year.
And if you look at this, I'm going to go on quote. I've claimed this before. I think I claimed it in my World Series prediction video I posted yesterday on our YouTube. Go check that out if you haven't. I think this 2021 Dodgers team is the greatest, most talented team in MLB history to not win a ring. If you look how many All-Stars are on this team, Pat. Walker Buehler, Max Scherzer, Clayton Kershaw, Kenley Jansen, Trevor Bauer's kind of iffy, but keep going. Cody Bellinger, Corey Seager, Justin Turner's been an All-Star.
Mookie Betts.
There you go.
AJ
Pollock, he might have been, but Trey Turner again.
Well,
another
just
guy
the quality of players, All-Star or not. It's the most stacked roster to not even get to the World Series, let alone win a ring.
Look at Chris Taylor, this guy who was he was like a utility player for the Seattle Mariners, came over with the Dodgers a couple years back. He's kind of found his role. He's nothing more than a role player. He's the 2021. He's Kike Hernandez of the NL, even though Kike Hernandez was on the Dodgers. He had a great postseason, but Chris Taylor, Pat, hits the walk-off in the NL wildcard game versus the Cardinals. Hits 3 bombs in game 5 to have the Dodgers stay alive. And Chris Taylor's those clutch players you need, like the Braves have with their Dansby Swansons, that Jorge Soler's, Eddie Rosario's, that aren't these big name superstars like a Freddie Freeman or Ronald Acuna Jr.
Yeah, forget even getting to the World Series. They didn't even win their division. And yeah, they beat the Giants in the NLCS, but I mean, I don't know if I've seen a more underachieving team than this Dodgers team. I mean, all across the lineup, you got playmakers everywhere.
Yeah, and Pat, I mean, don't cut themselves short. They won 107, 108 games during the regular season. So so cut them some slack there. Like, they were a great ball club, and I'm gonna keep saying it as Jose Urquidy, top of the third here, throws a strike one to Freeman. For those of you want to know game 2, we're not live, so it doesn't matter. But as Freeman grounds out to Altuve here, what was I saying? This Dodgers team is the most talented team to not win a ring, and it just shows how tough it is to go back to back in baseball to win it. The closest team to do it so far since the 98-99 Yankees to win 3 in a row, I think, was the Philadelphia Phillies in 08 and 09, going to the World Series after winning it in 08 and losing to A-Rod, Jeter, and the Yankees. But this just shows how in football, Brady can go back. Like, if you look, like the last 20 years in the AFC have been dominated by 4 quarterbacks: Ben Roethlisberger, Tom Brady, Peyton Manning, Patrick Mahomes. You don't see that in the MLB.
You don't. And especially because there is no salary cap in baseball. So it's really hard to repeat as a champ. That's what makes the MLB has a lot more parity than the NBA, the NFL, these other leagues that do have the salary cap. And to go back to the Braves, let's not discount the fact that, Acuna went down. Let's not forget Freddie Freeman was an MVP last year. I mean, he stepped up big time for them, and that's why they're in the spot that they are.
And then let's talk about Freddie Freeman just showing how hard or how mentally excruciating the game of baseball is. In the NLCS, from starting in game 2, he went 0 for 7 with 4 strikeouts, or was it 7 strikeouts? It was 4 strikeouts or 2. I forget it. And then the next game, he goes yard first at bat, sets the tone for the Braves, and they would end up going on winning the series. But that just shows how mentally tough you got to be in baseball, and how, what I was going to say with this Braves team, in the NBA, if you're under 500 more than halfway through the season, you're not winning the NBA championship.
You're looking for the lottery. You're looking to position yourself for the lottery.
Yeah, there's no Golden State Warriors in the MLB back when they had Curry. There's no LeBron James dominated team. You need a complete set. You need 26 men that all contribute to win a World Series. In the NBA, you could win with 3 or 4 guys.
Yeah, similar to in the NFL, you can't win a Super Bowl with a bad offensive line. The MLB, you cannot win a World Series with a bad bullpen, and that's exactly what both of these teams have. They got depth at pitching, and they got all the intangibles. They don't need to build a super team, like we said. We keep alluding to that, but these are complete teams, and the Braves are a complete team, and that's how they got to this, the Fall Classic, as you'd say.
I couldn't agree with you more, Pat. Just they have the winning culture. They just have the winning attitude. It's contagious. They just have built the Brian Snitker, who's been in the Braves organization for 45 years. Let me tell you, 45 years, Pat. That's older than both of us, our ages combined. And that's how long Snit has been in the Braves organization. But he's built this winning culture, this, hey, next man up mentality. And it's proved to work here. And Pat, I don't know if you want to have anything to say here, but I have a great point, but I'll let you get something in here real fast about the Astros.
The Astros, not really much to say about them other than, I don't really have much to say.
Because I have a whole thing on the Astros right now, Pat, and I just didn't want to totally hog the mic here for a second, but here.
No, you're good.
All right, let me tell you this. This might turn into a rant, who knows, but the Astros lineup 1 through 7, perhaps maybe the most dominant lineup since Miller Huggins' Murderers Row of the New York Yankees back with Lou Gehrig and Babe Ruth in the early 20s. Like, I get it, Pat. I hate the Astros. You hate the Astros. We all hate the Astros for what they did in 2017. They blatantly cheated to win a World Series. They tried to cover it up. They lied about it, made a mockery of baseball, complete mockery, and they're just complete scumbags for it. But you can't let the hindsight bias of that distract you from how talented this current 2021 team is, Pat.
Yeah, no doubt. This is the most, forget the past. The cheating scandal, that's behind us. Let's just look at this roster in general. You got Altuve. You got Alex Bregman. Then you got Michael Brantley. Carlos Correa. Kyle Tucker. Whoa, that is a scary lineup.
Yuli Gurriel, the AL batting title champ.
Yeah, and then for pitching, you got Zach Greinke, Lance McCullers, Framber Valdez, Luis Garcia. Wow.
Scary team.
Scary team. I don't know what else to say.
As I was saying, this lineup 1 through 7 could be the most dominant since, as you mentioned, Altuve, multi-all-star, he's won an MVP. Brantley, consistently good player. I think he was an all-star this year. Bregman, all-star MVP candidate. Yordan Alvarez, rookie of the year, has definitely been an all-star. Correa, all-star. Kyle Tucker bursted on the scene. And now Yuli Gurriel, a batting title champ. I mean, and then it drops down a little with Jose Siri, Chas McCormick, and Martin Maldonado. But that 1 through 7 is so dominant. It's you can't even compare it to anything. But give Jeff Lowe now credit for building this team that has stayed so talented for so long. Pat, the Astros have been to 5 straight ALCSs, 3 World Series in the last 5 years, and possibly 2 World Championships in the last 5 years, 2 titles as they won in 2017.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Pat.
And on top of that, it's not like he was just picking up where they left off. They were at the cellar of the then National League about 10 years ago, and he's gotten them to where they are. I mean, say all you want about the cheating scandal. It's impressive what he's been able to build. 5 ALCSs the last, 5 years?
Yeah, I could not agree with you more, Pat.
How?
The fact
It doesn't get much more perfect than
you
that.
bring up those teams 10 years ago led by Carlos Lee and Brian Bogusevic, Hunter Pence. I guarantee you half the listeners cannot name 5 players on those teams. Like Jason Borges, you're not going to remember him. Wandy Rodriguez, no. And then let me tell you this, Pat. It's pretty damn impressive if you look compared to all the other teams that were on the upswing in that 2015 to 2017 span compared to the Astros. And let me tell you this. The Toronto Blue Jays, they have a completely different roster than they did back then. They've gone under a rebuild. They're now back to relevancy. But they have to go through a rebuild. So they haven't, last 5 years, haven't made the playoffs. Unlike the Astros in the ALCS for the last 5 years. The Kansas City Royals got to a World Series, won a World Series. Haven't heard from them since. What's going on down there? Dayton Moore and Missouri. Next up, Pat. Cleveland Indians. 1, they're getting a new name. 2, Lindor's gone. Kluber's gone. Andrew Miller's gone. Kipnis is gone. The only guy left there is Jose Ramirez. Their name is even gone. That just shows you they're gone. This just even proves that point more. And then, Pat, I hate to say it, but our beloved Chicago Cubs. We all know the train wreck we're talking about. The Cubs core of Rizzo, Baez, Schwarber, Bryant, Contreras. It burned out after 3 years. Let's be honest. They got to the NLCS twice, won the World Series. They got it done. That's all I asked for. But then it's been a train wreck ever since 2018 with the Cubs. But kudos to Lou now for constructing this. This is goddamn impressive. I don't care if you want to bring up the cheating scandal. It is not relevant when you look at the talent of these players. Yes, did it help them win a ring in 2017 over the Dodgers? Yes, but that doesn't take a matter of the fact. If you look at this current team, how talented they are, just the cheating scandal is so just immature to bring up. If you look at talent of this team, I'm sick of it. You can hate the Astros. I still hate the Astros, but you can't. It's not relevant in this World Series at all. Pat, did you understand where I'm coming from?
Yeah, completely. You mentioned over the 2015 to 2017 span, all those teams that I'm not going to say dynasties, but were on the high upswing. The only ones that have been able to sort of maintain that, as you mentioned, the Astros. I'm going to give them credit. I don't care about
the Dodgers
schedule
have been
at this
the only
point.
other team.
And then the Dodgers, yeah. And then you're seeing teams like the Rays have been getting increasingly better. Maybe they have a dynasty in them. The Red Sox have kind of gone back. The Yankees have not yet been to a World Series.
Pat,
They're still unproven.
Pat, the Red Sox were supposed to be rebuilding this year. They went out, won the wild card game, upset the Rays, who won that division there in the AL East, and then did a competitive series against the Astros. But Pat, they were supposed to go 81-81 at best. But that's what we're talking about. I think this culture and like you win in the locker room before you go on the field really works, and it's shown here in baseball.
Yeah, no doubt.
It doesn't matter how much talent you have. Like, look at the Cubs. Their culture was broken. It had to end. It's just what is. It is what it is.
Yeah, and they brought back for the Red Sox Alex Cora as the manager, and ever since he first got there, he got a ring, and then they kind of took a dip off. They brought him back. Seems to really be working for them. So the rebuild could have just been, in his absence.
But yeah, anyway, let's talk about this game 1. I'm gonna give a brief update, or not update, just like a summary of game 1 of the 2021 World Series for the listeners out there. It started off with a bang. Former Cub Jorge Soler becomes the first player in World Series history to homer in the first at bat to lead off the game with the home run. And it was a bullet out into the Crawford boxes in Houston. And that just set the tone right there beginning. And the Braves went on to win 6-2.
You stole it out of my mouth. Great tone setter. You also had huge games from Ozzie Albies, Eddie Rosario, Adam Duvall. All these guys stepped up big on a stage they'd never been in before. And you saw the Braves come right out the gate, feed off of that energy. They wanted more. They were not satisfied with just getting the pennant. You could tell that they came to play. They are on a mission.
Oh, could not agree with you more, Pat. And
Dansby Swanson as well.
Dansby Swanson, the kid from Vanderbilt, first overall pick. Now, he hasn't played like a first overall pick his entire career, but the man is a menace. And Pat, he is the best hair in baseball. I'm not afraid to say Dansby Swanson is the most attractive guy in the MLB. Dansby Swanson's got it going on.
No,
But
Dansby Swanson's definitely got it going.
yeah, Dansby Swanson, like you said it. You couldn't have said it any more perfect about game one of this Atlanta team. And Houston bouncing back right now, going into the bottom of the third, bottom of the third, going to bottom of the third. I've just said bottom of the third 6 times maybe the last 10 seconds. But they're up 5-1, and it looks like your Gordy's got in control. He's not going to have a game 3 fluke like he did against the Red Sox, where he gave up a grand slam to Schwarber and a whole bunch of baloney that happened there at Fenway. But I think the Astros are going to win this one pretty easily, Pat.
Yeah, I think that we're primed definitely to see. I anticipate a game 7 to this series. I think that they can keep it up the way it's going. I think we're in for a long series into November for sure. And on the Astros side of things, Altuve, Tucker have all been playing really well so far. So good things from the Astros. The Braves, this is going to be a great series.
Could not agree with you more, Pat. And let's go down more your alley, maybe more of some of our listeners' alley.
Yes.
Let's talk some NBA. And Pat,
let's get into the Chicago Bulls team.
The Bulls are back, baby. I'm seeing red. You're seeing red. The Bulls are back. I have not been this hyped to watch Chicago Bulls basketball since we had number 1, Derrick Rose running up the course with Joakim Noah and Carlos. I have not been this hyped, Pat.
This has been possibly the biggest offseason in the modern era for the Chicago Bulls in the last 10, 15 years at least. Obviously, since Derrick Rose. I mean, you brought in DeMar DeRozan from San Antonio. You got Lonzo Ball from the Pelicans, huge playmaker. Alex Caruso, the second coming of the White Mamba, with that receding hairline worse than LeBron's, but he still balls like it. And then you got who else? Is that it?
Acquire?
I don't think they acquired anyone else.
They
got Ayo Dosunmu in the draft. That's right.
I was gonna say, like, come on, man, that's my guy.
That's my guy.
They brought back another hometown kid.
Anyway, they're 4-0 for the first time since 1996.
Number 1 in the East, baby.
Number 1 in the East. They got the championship that year. And this team, led by Billy Donovan, he coached at Florida. He coached for Oklahoma City, took them to the Western Conference Finals, had some great playoff runs with them. But this Bulls team with Billy Donovan as the coach, they are doing just an unbelievable job right now. I mean, Lonzo Ball, people like to still rip on his shooting. They didn't even bring him in for that. They brought him in for his playmaking ability. And then you got guys, Zach LaVine's always going to do his thing. He should be a perennial all-star in years to come if he keeps playing the way he does. Alex Caruso doesn't do anything great, but he's a guy you want to have on the team. He gives his all. He's always going to be out there hustling, making that extra play that just will pay dividends down the road in the Eastern Conference. And this team, I don't know if it's too early to predict. I'd say they're a sleeping candidate to win the Eastern Conference. I'd probably still lean towards the Nets, but I got faith in the Chicago Bulls this year. No more excuses. It's going to happen. They're going to make the playoffs. We're in for a playoff run. It's not going to stop there.
First playoff run, or first time going to the playoffs since we had D Wade on our team for that one season. And if Rondo doesn't get hurt, do we beat the Celtics that year, who were the 1 seed? I don't know, Pat, but another free agent they got was Derrick Jones Jr., another role player who's more known for his dunk contests. And then, Pat, I got a funny story for you about Alex Caruso. Last 2 weekends ago, I was caddying over at the country club, and a certain Bulls player walked in and shook my hand, and his name.
No,
I knew who it was the minute I saw his hairline. Take a guess.
Is his first name Alex and his last name is Caruso?
Ding, 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 ding. Could not have been more right. He's like 6'6", walks up, shakes my hand, and then I'm like, oh, man, it'll be so cool. It's Alex Caruso, the biggest meme in NBA history besides Brian Scalabrine and, like, J.R. Smith. I'm like, it's Alex Caruso. And unfortunately, could not get a picture, else I would have gotten fired.
Wait,
so,
which country club were you at?
Glen Oak.
Oh, at Glen Oak? What are you doing over there?
He was playing golf. It was a Sunday afternoon.
He'd go all the way to Glen Oak? There's nowhere.
It was a Sunday afternoon. He was playing at Glen Oak.
I wonder where he lives. He must live like close to the area then.
Yeah, so let's go back into that was a little anecdote side story there, but let's go back into this Bulls team, Pat.
Yeah.
Which player that was on the team before this season do you expect to be the biggest to contribute to this potential playoff run? Kobe White, Zach LaVine, Patrick Williams, Nikola Vukovic. Which one of these guys you thinks takes that next step in
I'm going to
becoming
go.
better?
Yeah. So we know what LaVine's going to do on a day-to-day basis. Vucevic has been an all-star in the past, although when he got acquired from the Bulls last year, he didn't do what everyone expected him to. So I know I'm going to get a jump from him. I know he's going to play better. But my eye is going to be on Patrick Williams this year. He was a guy who was drafted 4th overall last year. In college, he was the 6th man at Florida State. He did not even start. Everyone questioned the Bulls when they selected him. People are thinking maybe we go Obi Toppin, maybe we go Isaac Okoro, but no, they went with this power forward out of Florida State. I think his athleticism was one of the best in the draft, and I really liked what I saw last season as sort of a preview, but I know he can take the next step. I'm looking for a huge sophomore leap this year from him, and especially with Markkanen gone for the time being. I'm looking for him to take a huge leap. Markkanen, he peaked his rookie year. He hadn't gotten better since. He was taking some minutes away from what Williams could have done. Patrick Williams, he is going to have an absolutely amazing year. In this Bulls team, in this Bulls system, you're going to hear his name this year. He's going to take a huge leap.
Pat, I think we absolutely just completely swindled the Timberwolves with that trade. When we gave them Jimmy Butler, we got Chris Dunn, Lauri Markkanen, and Zach LaVine, most importantly. I think the Zach LaVine piece right there, even though Lauri didn't turn out to what we thought what he was going to be, we got Zach LaVine, the face of our franchise. And would you agree with me that we absolutely bamboozled the Minnesota Timberwolves?
Absolutely. Jimmy, he's had his coaching issues in the past. He's finally found the home in Miami, but the Timberwolves lost the trade because of that. And what was I going to say?
I mean, you figured with Jimmy Butler and Karl-Anthony Towns on the same team, you would have gotten better than an 8 seed.
When we traded and we got Zach LaVine in the deal, some people thought we should have gotten more back, but I don't think a lot of people realized he could eventually become the all-star that he is. I mean, I think at this point he should have had 3 all-star nods. I think he got snubbed 2 of the last 3 years, but he's been playing like it the last 3, and he's been, he's emerged into a legitimate, I would say on a championship team right now, he could be the 2nd to 3rd option. I think he's that good, and he's played that well. And I think that in many aspects, I think he's surpassed Jimmy Butler in terms of, his impact on the floor.
I love your take there, Pat. And as we look at this Bulls, where is the Bulls this season? Where is their floor and where is their ceiling?
All right. I'm just looking through the Eastern Conference. I'm going over everyone's offseason. And from what I see, I'm just going to go down the list. I'm just going to go down to the standings. Then I'll give you my final projections. So as of right now, 2nd place, the Knicks. Okay, they acquired Kemba Walker. They were a great story last year. I don't think they were a great team. Clearly they didn't have the backcourt that was needed to, get by the Hawks. Yeah, they had Julius Randle, who had an unbelievable year, but
where did Julius Randle come from? Because he was looked at as kind of maybe a bust when he was out in LA.
Oh, he definitely got shadowed. He definitely ghosted in LA, and then he was with the Pelicans, which people forgot him out at that point. Then he came to New York. They were putting the load on him like he was a number 1 option, but he wasn't. So the Knicks went out.
Randall put the Empire in the Empire state of mind. He really found himself there, as Jay-Z and Alicia Keys would say.
Yeah. Maybe it was just maybe it was just a bigger setting he needed to really emerge. But anyway, the Knicks got Kemba Walker in the offseason. I see them still staying around the 4th spot at least, because last year was a COVID year, shut down 10 less games. Maybe I wouldn't say it was a fluke, but I think that they played their best. I think they still would have been a playoff team, but I'd still have the Knicks finishing below the Bulls. Hornets, I don't buy into it. It's LaMelo Ball. That's it. It's a college all-star team. Look at the roster: Miles Bridges, Terry Rozier,
Is Cody
Devontae
Zeller
Graham.
still on that team?
Yes, he is. And then Bucks, obviously 2020 NBA champions last year, maintained pretty much everyone. I think real talk, I think they're going to be better than the Bulls. Just the experience they got, the roster they have, they got an MVP. Heat could be interesting because, you know what? I can't go through every single team. I'm just going to look down the list. Sixers, no. I'm going to say that the Bulls are either the 3 or the 4 seed because I think the Bucks are definitely going to top them. The Nets will definitely top them. They'll be fighting with, Sixers, Knicks, Heat for those next spots. But I think that their floor is definitely like the 7 seed because that's where I see teams like Atlanta, Boston finishing, Indiana. There is no reason for them to not be a playoff team. They put too much into the season. They put all the chips in. They need to cash in this year and make it happen.
All right, Pat, and let's shift over into the wild world of the NFL. Will Deshaun Watson get traded? What is going on with Patrick Mahomes? And how long does Matt Nagy have left at the lakefront of Chicago? Pat, your thoughts on the current state of the NFL? Oh, and Cardinals are undefeated.
Yes. So I'm going to start off with the Deshaun Watson rumors. So there's been a lot of interest in because remember, Deshaun has a no trade clause. So right now, I believe the only teams that he can get drafted to are the Dolphins and the Panthers.
Yo, Pat. Yeah, I might be getting fake news here, but Texans are sending. Oh shoot, no.
Oh, Mark Ingram went back to the Saints.
Yeah. Mark Ingram's going to the Saints. Yeah,
I knew that like 2 hours ago. Yeah.
Yeah, it was my bad. I saw Texans trade. I was like, that was my bad. I got fooled by Jack Bear of Yahoo Sports. So thank you very much, Jack. But anyway, go ahead and say what you were going to say.
So Deshaun Watson has a no trade clause. The only teams that he's open to get traded to are the Dolphins and the Panthers, but the Panthers have sort of backed out. They're not really under his radar that much anymore. So the Dolphins seems like the best suited place. Now, if I was the Dolphins, you're 1-6 right now. I don't know because the Texans need picks. That's number one. They could throw someone like Xavier Howard into the trade. Obviously, I understand they restructured his contract. That's why he wanted out in the first place. But, the Texans need players and they need picks. That's number one. And if you trade Deshaun midseason, you might not get much value for him now because, what are you going to get back? What's going to happen to Tua? That's really the thing. Because if you're looking at his stats.
Tua's going to Houston, I would assume. It would be a swap.
I mean, Tua has not been – he hasn't had the it quality with the Dolphins. We all know that. But if you're looking at Tua's stats, his completion percentage is around 66%. His passer rating is like an 89. He's thrown – his touchdown to interception ratio is about 2-1. So – it's one of those things where, yes, he does everything. He doesn't do much wrong. He just doesn't do anything great to take them over the hump and, carry the franchise. And that's what they need in Miami. Miami has been too mediocre, too down for too long. Since Dan Marino, have they had a quarterback on the roster for more than 5 years? Ryan Tannehill, maybe, but that's the closest
I think
to it.
Tannehill would be it. I don't think no one would they have Chad Pennington at the end of his career, like Matt Moore? Like, no, I agree. Like they had Jay Cutler for a season. Like they have not had the identity of a quarterback. They're like the Bears since Marino.
And Miami is a team where like if they're doing good, the NFL is doing good because the NFL needs a team in that corner of the country. Bucks, as of recently, yes, but
the Bucks weren't anything until Brady came.
Yeah, so I'm saying as of recently, but Miami is one of those. I feel like they're one of those franchises that's a good job because they have such a good history with Marino. They need to be back to relevancy. And if you trade for Deshaun Watson now, it'll definitely take some time to get him going. But if I was the Dolphins, I would wait to see what kind of value I could get for him and not be desperate at the trade deadline. So I would do it next offseason, the trade.
All right. And then Pat. So I'm as watching Mahomes, I think I've noticed one, more NFL teams are figuring him out. Two, Mahomes looks more like he did at Texas Tech than he has the last 3 seasons. Like his line is collapsing. The O line is way worse than it was before. They lost Mitchell Schwartz. They lost Eric Fisher this offseason, and the defense is terrible. And it's a perfect storm of disastrous events in over in Kansas City for Mahomes, and that's the reason that he is struggling. And then you got his brother dancing on Sean Taylor's memorial. We're not even gonna get into that. So it's just a whole bunch of, it's a snowball effect of what's wrong with Mahomes. And I think maybe the main thing is he is moving from his current house. I'm not going to give out the address, but he lives on the same street as my cousins, but he's moving out of his house. So I think that's the main issue, Pat. He is moving out of Missouri and into the state of Kansas. That's the main issue. Want to fix Mahomes? Keep him in his house.
Yeah. And back to the Chiefs offensive line. You know, they brought in Orlando Brown. They brought in Joe Thuney. They drafted Creed Humphrey. Yeah, you could say, oh, those are perennial Pro Bowlers that are going to be great for Mahomes. It doesn't matter what they lost. It takes time for an offensive line to gel. That doesn't just come. And you're seeing the issues with, you know, the tip interceptions, not having enough time in the pocket. Mahomes yes, maybe he's looked bad sometimes, but
he's running for his life like Justin Fields.
Yeah, exactly. He isn't looking composed, to say the least. And they've lost to some bad teams. I mean, they've lost to the Chargers.
Chargers aren't bad.
Wait, no. They haven't lost I take that back. They have not lost to bad teams. They've lost badly to good teams. They haven't been in some games that they should be. They lost
the Titans
to the Bills,
game last week.
The Titans, that's what I meant to come out like. The Chiefs have not been playing up to the standard that we know them to play at. They're at 3-4 right now, and I just don't know what they do, honestly. Because
we know, and in that week 2 matchup, if Clyde Edwards-Helaire doesn't fumble that ball, Chiefs win that game.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So it could be a different story because if they come out 2-0, it's completely different. They lost to the Chargers by 1 score. So this season is very just like flipped based on the beginning of what happened at the very beginning.
Yeah, I mean, it's the NFL. It's a game of downs, a game of snaps, a game of possession. You know, you could be 3-4, you could be 5-2. It's that slim. But let's transition over to the Chicago Bears with where things stand right now. They're 3-4.
Dumpster fire.
Yes. And
I mean, they're a good enough team to beat the bad teams, but a bad enough team to lose to the good teams. So they're going to finish 8-8 or 8-9 or whatever it is now at the 17-game season. That's what's going to happen every time.
Yeah, and they're never going to be in a position unless they trade up to get a good draft pick because they have just enough talent, but not enough to really take the next step and get to the playoffs. And Matt Nagy, he's got to go after this year. Yes, he got COVID. I'm sure all Bears fans are thankful for that. Let's see how it goes this week. But this week, they're not going to have Khalil Mack and, Justin Fields just on paper, he had a bad game. He had 3 picks, 2 fumbles, but that's all because, the Bears offensive line is Dunkin' Donuts. What the hell is going on? You got Jason Peters, who's completely washed.
Is Dunkin' Donuts.
James Daniels and Cody Whitehair, they have not been able to protect him the way that you protect your rookie quarterback. You need to get the quarterback right, and then you got to get insurance for it, the offensive line. Tevin Jenkins hasn't been able to play much yet, but this offensive line in general is just not. They have not been able to. It's one of the worst in the league. And then, sure, you got some.
The worst.
Yeah, I'd say it's the worst. It's definitely down there, but the defense at times is underachieved. Obviously, they had to get rid of Kyle Fuller in the offseason, which I thought was a huge loss because he's kind of that shutdown corner that they had.
Jalen Johnson isn't the number 1 corner.
this team is just, yeah, sure, they got promising young receivers, but Allen Robinson, I'm sure he's going to be gone by the
he
trade
does not
deadline.
want to stay here.
If not by the end of the next season, which, we put his franchise tag on him. So much
here's what I would exclaim here's what I would put in simple person terms. The Bears are currently in win now mode right now, which is the age of their team and just how it's built, but they're physically not ready to win now. And that's why we're seeing this mediocrity, this beating of the bad teams and just getting absolutely just torched by the good teams.
Mm-hmm.
This is exactly it. They're in a football hell of no man's land. You either got to sell, and that's what the Bears got to do because they're not going to go up anytime soon. Get rid of Pace, get rid of Nagy, bring in someone to develop Fields, bring in someone with a track record of developing quarterbacks, and that we could just hope for the best. That's all we can hope for.
You can just hope that in the offseason they do fire Nagy. The biggest thing is, can you get someone to replace that's better than him? Hopefully by the end of this season,
I'm pretty sure you can.
Opportunities open up. Hopefully, guys like Eric Bieniemy, Brian Dable, Josh McDaniels.
Eric Bieniemy will not be getting the Bears job because the Bears will not hire another Andy Reid assistant again because Nagy was. Brian Dable, great name you mentioned, out in Buffalo, developing Josh Allen. He's going to be a very hot candidate this year in the coaching pool, the coaching carousel.
But Brian Dable, I think
Go ahead.
But Brian Dable, I think, would want to stay with Buffalo until he at least gets to a Super Bowl or wins a Super Bowl, because I think that's why he didn't take any job last year. He wanted to stay in Buffalo.
Yeah, that could totally be it. And Pat, I think we go into our final segment here.
I'd say that's a good way to end it. Yeah. So we got what is it? What is the segment today?
It is you've been here, you've listened, you've watched before, you've heard top 5 college basketball announcers, you've heard top 5 NBA Finals moments. Pat, what's this week?
Today we have the top 5 World Series moments of all time. The World Series, the Fall Classic, whatever you want to call it. The best moments from this annual event. We're going to break it down to you, our top 5. We'll put it on Instagram for a poll. You vote for which list you prefer. Let's get right into it.
Pat, no pressure on you, but I am 2-0 so far.
Yes, that is.
You're trying
I'd say the pressure's on you to maintain.
All right, here. All right, so I'm going to ask Siri to flip a coin. Pat, do you want for first pick? Pat, do you want heads or tails?
Heads.
Siri, flip a coin. Oh, wait. Siri, flip a coin.
It's heads this time.
And Pat will get the. Hey. Pat, do you want the first or the second pick? You get to choose.
I'll take the first pick because I think we all know what it is.
Yes, and it's the pick I wanted. Yeah. And once you get this pick, you're winning the poll no matter what. So,
okay.
To be fair, it was tails at first, but I did not have the ringer on, so it didn't show. But so I redid it.
I got bailed out. That's what you're trying to say?
You got bailed out, Pat.
Okay.
You got bailed out. First pick. Go ahead.
Well,
Pat.
We all need a break sometimes. Okay. The best World Series moment, number 1 on my list, is our Chicago Cubs 2016, the final play. Bryant to Rizzo. Cubs win the World Series as Joe Buck announced it.
Here's the 0-1. This is going to be a tough play. Bryant, the Cubs win the World Series. Bryant makes the play. It's over. And the Cubs have finally won it all.
In that game, he had some big games. We had Dexter Fowler, Javi Baez, David Ross in his final game as a Cub, final game as an MLB player, homer. In that game, it was a huge game. The entire city of Chicago was just elated, just overflowing with emotion. I remember we were watching that game together. We ran across the block, ran around the block. We were so excited with the shirts off. We could not believe it. It's just the 108-year drought to end that the way it did. Words can't describe. That is the best moment of the World Series.
Well, Freddie Freeman just singled here to make it a 5-2 ball game. So the Braves are slowly crawling back in the top of the 5th here. And Pat, you bastard, just taking that pick away from me. All right, so now the table's really open. And my problem is with the poll, a lot of our followers aren't going to know a lot of like deep into baseball. So you get the Cubs, you win the poll. So congratulations, Pat. But anyway, I'm going to go with here, this first one. We're going to go to the 1988 World Series, Pat. And let me get you a little background here. Dennis Eckersley is pitching for the Oakland A's. He's a Hall of Fame closer, does not blow saves. Let's just say that. And the Dodgers are down, and they're bringing in a hurt player to pinch hit. His name is Kirk Gibson. He comes up to the plate. You've probably all heard this, seen this clip. He walks up the plate. He's like aching in pain, limping. He takes the swing, drives the ball into the right field stands at Dodger Stadium, the pavilion out there, and then just wobbles around the bases, thrusting his elbow like this, like punching the air, like fist pumping the air, and like in hooray or in victory. And he won the game, and it's one of the most iconic home runs in MLB history. Kirk Gibson's pinch hit walk-off homer. That's my first pick.
High fly ball into right field. She is gone. In a year.
Solid pick. Do we want to do snake order, or are we just gonna go back?
Yeah, we're gonna do. Let's just do snake order.
Yeah,
So,
that's better. You go.
As number 2 here, Pat, I'm sticking in the 80s for this. You've definitely have known this one. I'll just say the highlight. Everyone knows this highlight. Ground ball up to first, behind the bag. It gets through Buckner. Here comes Knight, and the Mets win it. This is the most famous air in MLB history. Bill Buckner's air. 1986, Game 6. Red Sox are one out away from snapping the curse of the Bambino. Mookie Wilson, a very speedster slap hitter. It's a routine ground ball to Bill Buckner. Goes right through his 5-hole, right through his legs. Mets win the game. Mets going to win Game 7. And a notorious 86 Mets team of Gary Carter, Gary Carter, Dwight Gooden, Darryl Strawberry. I believe Howard Johnson was on that team. Davey Johnson was the manager. Ron Darling was Ron Darling pitching. I have the roster pull up right away. But those are some guys that were on the team. And they were so notorious. When they would go to away ballparks and they would get off the bus, they would scream, "Hide your wives, hide the women, hide your children," just because they were there to wreck, and they did wreck. Those are my 2 picks, Pat. You have 2 picks.
All right. So for my second pick, call whatever you want. Moments, iconic moments. This isn't really a moment, but talk about like performances in the World Series. I'm going to go to 2014, San Francisco Giants beating Kansas City Royals in 7 games. And Madison Bumgarner just put on an absolute show.
His Game 7 performance?
Yeah, his Game 7 performance. Not only the way he played in Game 7, the way that he came back on just 2 days rest, pitching 21 innings and only letting up 1 run. It's just an unbelievable performance. He came back to win MVP. You know, in the modern day era, he's been regarded as, you know, the premier hitting pitcher in the league. Obviously, you know, Jacob deGrom, that's kind of what he's kind of took that over from him from now. But I mean, the way he pitched in that series was unbelievable en route to his MVP honors. For my second pick, I'm going to go with Madison Bumgarner's performance against the Royals. And then for my third pick, I'm going to go with, I'm going to go back to 1991. This is the Minnesota Twins against the Atlanta Braves. They went on to win 4-3. It's a 0-0 game to the 11th inning, I believe.
Great pitching matchup between Jack Morris and John Smoltz, 2 current MLB Hall of Famers.
Yeah, that game went to extra innings, and Gene hits a RBI single over all of the Braves outfielders' heads, and it's the single. It wins the World Series. That was just in a game that had no offense at all. That was the one. That's all I needed, and then they're World Series champs. The Twins win it.
All right, so Twins 91, There you go, Pat. All right, got it locked in. All right, now I have 2 picks. And for number 3, I'm getting a recent one. So 2011 Cardinal. I hate to take this pick as a diehard Cubs fan, but I have to. 2011 Cardinals Rangers at Busch Stadium in St. Louis. Cardinals are down to their last strike, and they have a guy who he's kind of been like he's just been a utility player his whole career. David Freese. This last strike, down by I believe 1 or 2 runs in the bottom of the ninth, hits a triple that was misplayed by Nelson Cruz. If he plays it right, he could catch that ball, but it goes off the wall. He gets a triple, ties the game, goes into extras, and what does he do in the bottom of the 11th, Pat?
Mm-hmm.
He hits maybe Joe Buck's most famous call. Freeze drives it in a center field. We will see you tomorrow night. And St. Louis just went crazy up for grabs, and they would go on to win Game 7. But he was down. St. Louis was down their final strike 3 times in that game. And Freese, who ended up going on to win World Series MVP, was clutch. That's what he was. He was clutch. So David Freese's walk-off in Game 6 is taking it. And I think for my next pick, I got to go down to the year 2001. Just off of 9/11, Yankees are in the World Series against the Diamondbacks. Game 7, Mariano Rivera, the greatest closer of all time, is on the mound. Luis Gonzalez, great hitter, Silver Slugger winner, All-Star, hits a bloop hit. It's one of maybe the weakest contact balls with the bases loaded. Plops right over between Soriano and Jeter's head and falls right in there. Or maybe not. Maybe Tony. No, it wasn't Tony Fernandez. Maybe I forget the name of the second baseman on that team. But over into shallow center field, Diamondbacks win their first World Series in the 3 years of their existence. Remember, they were expansion team 98. So Luis Gonzalez off the greatest closer of all time is my 4th pick. But none of my picks matter because you got the Cubs winning the World Series. So
well, that was actually
I'm 2-1. I'm 2-1. Luis Gonzalez. All right, but
yeah, it was.
You won this draft, so.
All right. My next pick, I'm going to go to 1997. This is the then Florida Marlins. Edgar Renteria, his walk-off single World Series win over the Cleveland Indians. This is a game that went to 11 innings. It's just one of the longest games in World Series history. And he comes in, he hits it. I believe that was the Marlins' first ever World Series championship. And yeah, my pick was kind of stolen, but it was just a long game.
Marlins' first ever World Championship.
Yeah,
so
in a long game.
A fun fact.
Yeah.
The guy who scored the game-winning run of that World Series is now the manager of the Milwaukee Brewers, Craig Counsell.
Really?
Yeah. So that's 4. You have the
yes.
So those are your 2. So I have my final pick here, and I could do. You know what? The true baseball fan might vote for me, but it's going to be a walkout. We don't even need to put a poll. It's going to be 100-0, but I'm taking 1956, the only no-hitter, the only perfect game in World Series history. Don Larson's perfect game versus the Dodgers. Enough said. This is arguably maybe the greatest game pitched of all time, but I already have 3 walk-offs on there. I have the most famous air. Let's go get the most famous game pitched in the history of baseball.
Mm-hmm.
And end of the 5th inning, Astros 5, Braves 2. Go ahead, Pat. You have your final
exactly.
pick.
Are we playing? All right. For my final pick, I'm going to go all the way down to 1960. The Pittsburgh Pirates against the New York Yankees.
Oh, I know what this is.
Yeah, Bill Masrowski's walk-off home run against Ralph Terry, one of the best pitchers of that era. The Yankees were favorites coming into this game, and he hits it off, a walk-off. And then, that's basically says it all. A lot of these games, can't really remember much from because we weren't alive back then, obviously. But, huge moment for the franchise.
It was
And
43 years before either of us
Yeah.
were born. 44 for you.
yeah, long time. But yeah, that's my pick to round things out. Kind of
Yeah,
getting the
so
list. Yeah.
Here's the analysis of the list. Since we are a Chicago-based podcast, since there's recency bias, since everyone knows the Cubs winning the World Series, Pat will win this at a whopping 100-0 as his iPad falls. But anyway, that will wrap up episode 43. I think it's been a great episode, Pat. Great to be back with you. And Pat, one final announcement. Just got to hit it home with the fans, hit it home with the listeners. Buy the merch, guys. It's going at 9 a.m. tomorrow, Pat. Where can they find it? The link's on our...
The link is on our Instagram. It's on our is it on our
It's on our Twitter, and we'll put it on our TikTok. We'll put it on our TikTok.
And we'll let everyone know on our TikTok, Instagram, you know the drill. Check things out. Be there to buy some new merch. You're gonna want it. I will be getting my merch as soon as I can, and I can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so hyped.
Yeah, we'll have shirts, hoodies, hats, and coffee mugs. So a lot of stuff to go around here. And Pat, you might want to be thinking it's almost November. It's almost Christmas time. If you got any relatives that want any Zoomer sports gear, buy it now. Because you know what? If you buy any gear from the launch to the end of this weekend and use code let's use code Zoomer for 10% off.
There we go.
That's ZOOMER. Use that code for 10% off in your order. So you got the promo code. You know where to find it. You know the drill. So Pat, what are all of our listeners going to go do after they listen to this episode?
Go to the Instagram, go to the Twitter, visit our TikTok, and be proactive so that you can get the best merch that you can as soon as possible. Because how long is the shop going to be open? How long is it going to be open? How long are we selling the merch?
Well, we're running it through this weekend. It depends on how it goes, Pat. We'll open it again next weekend. I think
Sounds great.
Yeah, I think that's good. We'll run it this weekend. See how it goes. This is like our soft opening of the merch store. So, guys, please make it go well. And I want to thank all of you guys for listening to episode 43. Make sure you go follow us on Instagram. Make sure you follow us on TikTok, Twitter. You're subscribed on YouTube, of course, with the like this podcast, like this clip, everything. And then if you're listening on Apple, Spotify, 5-star review, please. It means a lot. Appreciate it. Remember, if you give us a 5-star written review, we'll give you a shout out. It reminds me of that, Pat. We're gonna read a 5-star review that we got in like August.
Oh, I
just think it's
one.
I think it's the funniest. It's the funniest thing I've ever heard, and it's the funniest thing I've ever read in my life. And as I'm pulling it up now, our 5-star review. All right, this is on August 3rd, 2021, from Dolphin Quattro. 5 stars. He get it. He put exceptionally divine episode, and I can show you it there, but I'll link it, or I'll put an overlay on the YouTube. Patrick Aducey is a man with great lips and bad takes. Andrew has the soothing voice of my great uncle Crangus. Period. Crangus McBasketball, also known as the Lion of Clark Street, whatever that means. Is that like a play on the Wolf of Wall Street or something? But I don't know. Crangus McBasketball. That's a crazy name. Anyway, he said 5 out of 5 stars. I would recommend this to the members of my neighborhood watch team. First of all, what's a neighborhood watch team? Like, I know of a neighborhood watch.
A neighborhood watch.
What? Are you like competing with other neighborhood watch teams? Like, is there like neighborhood watch competitions and games? So anyway, thanks for the 5-star review. We're gonna let you go with a laugh, Pat. Let's take us out.
Thank you so much for listening to episode 43 of the Zoomer Sports Podcast. Be sure to like, subscribe, and be sure to check out the links where all are posted for the merch as it comes out tomorrow, October 28th at 9 a.m. Central, 10 p.m. Eastern. Be there, get your merch. You'll want it.
All right, we'll see you guys.
Yeah.
10 a.m. Yeah, we'll see you guys.